where does this masterpiece fall? Let's rank this film on the Cageometer.
We'll start with Vince. Vampire's Kiss. Where does it rate on? We're doing. Where does the movie rate on your Cageometer, and where does Cage's performance rate on your Cageometer?
So for the movie, I'm going to give it a 7. Like I said, the first time I watched it, I was kind of a little. I don't really know if this is going to be a good film or not until the end of the first act, and then I really started buying into it. And then there's a second watch through that I really started appreciating the movie because, like we talked throughout, there's a lot of because you're dealing with mental illness. There's a lot of things that you could say were plot holes and whatnot that just makes sense. And I feel like they actually did take the time to have these ambiguous moments or these misdirections because he was slipping into madness. So I thought it was really well fleshed out. One of the better fleshed out movies that we've watched so far.
Yeah.
So yeah, I gotta say it's definitely a 7 for me. It's something that I look forward to rewatching again down the road just for fun.
That's awesome.
Unlike Deadfall.
Yeah, Deadfall is pretty shitty. And what about Cage's performance?
So for his performance, same. I'll give him a 7. I thought his like I said before, his absurd behaviors, his over the top acting at times worked for this character.
Yeah.
And I felt like he actually did a good job of kind of restraining himself early on, and then as the character just unravels, his performance and his behavior starts to actually feed into it, and he blends his own craziness so well with the character's craziness. I don't know any other actor that could make angrily babbling through the alphabet as entertaining as he did.
I don't know that anybody else could do it like Nick Cage.
I don't think so. No,
I don't know that anybody would ever make that choice aside from Nick Cage. Like, if anybody else was in this movie, I don't think there would have been A, B, C, D. I don't think anybody else would have done that. They probably would have just stopped at, I know the contract's in those files somewhere, because who would misplace something? It's all alphabetical. Exactly. And that would have been the end of it, not him going on a crazy rant.
So I feel like he did a great job. And then also when his character starts becoming a vampire, he did such a great job at changing his posture, changing his expressions, and kind of living that, becoming that fictional 1920s version of vampires, which is what for whatever reason his character was obsessed with those old vampire movies. And once again, it could have been 100% absurd, but he made it work. I don't know how, it just worked. It fit and it made sense with everything that had led up to that point. It just he nailed that part. So I got to give him a 7 on that.
Some people argue that it doesn't work. Some people laugh at this movie and think that it's this ridiculous, absurd movie. But I personally, and I think all three of us, thought it was pretty fucking great. I mean, just kind of a brilliant film from start to finish.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of little things that I wish were explained, and I feel like there's a lot of little moments that I guess I'll get to it when I talk about my part. But Nigel, where do you put this on the list?
As far as movie score, I have to be a little bit more generous than Vince, and I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. Nice. I waffled trying to do a 7, but I'm like, I actually like this a lot more than I think a 7 out of 10 would. Yeah. I'm looking at it like grading a paper, It's like a 7 out of 10 would be like a C, 70% or whatever. I think it's worth more than a C grade to me. It's puts it solidly in 80%, like B. I mean, it's like a B movie. It's common vernacular associates B movie with worse than that, but I really enjoyed this movie. I thought, like I said, I mentioned in text before, but like the script was pretty tight. Like I think a lot of it was, it sort of buttoned itself up, and it had a narrative that made sense within the movie itself as you go through it. Doesn't make sense as much in the beginning, but as it starts to unravel itself and you pick apart what's going on and realize that this guy is just a psychopath, everything starts to make a lot more sense.
Yeah.
And that was without even me considering, like you said, the underlying theme of this movie, being the city of New York kind of drives people to be crazy, and that, the entire character of Patrick Lowe is caused by, aside from being schizophrenic or whatever, it's caused by loneliness, like not having that human connection with anybody else and being incapable of it.
The director, Bierman, he said something that I think will stick with me for a long time is like, New York, when things are going your way, is the greatest city in the world. And I think that's true with like any like big city. But when things are not going your way, it is a disgusting, negative, shitty place to be. And I think we get to see kind of both sides of that a little bit.
Yeah,
with Peter Lowe's transformation from start to finish.
Right, because like we said, on paper, he's got everything that somebody in their mid-20s would want. Like he's got a successful career, he's got, he's affluent enough to have a brownstone, he's got, he's a ladies' man, he can take out gorgeous women on dates, they're in, you can find women that are into the same things he's into, but all of it falls apart, and nothing helps him. The environment that he's in does nothing to help him out of it. So
in fact, sends him down the opposite direction of like, he just gets crazier and crazier because of the city, really.
And I don't really know where else to put this in the podcast, but it was something I wanted to bring up when you mentioned how this like American Psycho borrowed from this. I got like a much more recent film that this gave me vibes of was Joker. I don't know if you guys watched Joker or not, but it was the same kind of thing where the whole society fails this guy who's got mental health problems, right down to having an ineffective social worker that's not doing her job to help him, and then just cast him off. And the society in that to speak for the meme, we live in a society, blah blah blah, is part of the character of that movie. Just like in this, New York is a character in the movie that causes part of what happens to him, I think.
Yeah, no, that's a great connection too.
I don't know if it's something that the writer, I can't remember who wrote it, but Todd Phillips directed Joker and stuff. Did he write it as well? I don't know.
I can't
don't
remember.
know if this was an inspiration for that as well, because it's the same kind of thing.
Yeah, I could see them really being.
You've got a character piece on a complete psycho. And a lot of people just say, it's like Taxi Driver and King of Comedy. They took that as an inspiration, but
which
it felt like this could have been a possible.
Sure.
Yeah, definitely. But I felt like this could have also been a possible inspiration for how you portray that type of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the movie was a lot better than I was expecting. I really enjoyed it. I would rewatch it at any time. I almost wish that I'd bought it rather than just rent it, for it. But
it's a hard movie to get a hold of for whatever reason. I hope that that changes at some point, because I feel like more people should be exposed to this movie. It was on Prime for a long time, so hopefully people discovered it there, and maybe it'll make its way to Netflix. That's how everybody ingests things these days. But where'd you put Nick Cage's performance?
I gotta say a 9 out of 10 on this one, because
that's a big one.
Yeah, and I haven't watched a lot of Nicolas Cage movies, but I find it hard to imagine a better Nicolas Cage performance than this movie would give you.
There are better performances.
That's why I left some of that room in there. A 9 out of 10 is not perfect. It's about as good as you can expect, especially for someone. This was fairly young in his acting career. I think he only started acting in I looked it up. It was like in 1984. He did like a TV movie or something where he played some part
I
as
watched
a teenager.
That. Crispin Glover's in it too, and we should do it at some point.
Yeah, we should. But I mean, that's this is 4 years after that, and he's already carrying a movie like this. I mean, like you said, this was after Raising Arizona, right?
This was,
he had experience with it, but the fact that I gave him an 8 out of 10 for Deadfall, and I'm like, I can't give him the same. I couldn't give him the worse score than Deadfall. I couldn't give him the same score because he wasn't a leading person who carried the movie of Deadfall. He carried that 20 or 30 minutes that he was in, but in this, his performance is what drives this movie.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm glad that I picked 9 out of 10 because going over you guys, how much he even injected into this character, like eating the cockroach, these ideas that he wanted to portray into it, him having a motivation for the character, turning it down, and then deciding he actually wanted to do it. I can't imagine this movie being done with somebody else.
Yeah, it was a huge risk for him. He was, like I said, he was a big star at that point. Like, he was a rising star, and then he decided to do this movie.
Just play a complete psycho.
It's like the same as when Brad Pitt started doing, Seven and Fight Club and stuff like that, like a swift departure from what he had been known for at that point. Though, Raising Arizona, he's a zany, crazy character. He basically plays a human version of Wile E. Coyote in that movie. So I guess it's not too much of a stretch for him to do this. But.
And I think, though, nowadays we're more forgiving of those type of performances. Like, if an actor wants to step out of the mold right out the gate and do some weird performance and stuff. But maybe back then, in the age of, we still had movie stars and leading men and women, you didn't see that as much because one movie like that could tank their career and ruin the image of what people have of the roles that these actors take. So it was risky, and I give him props for it. But
it's kind of like Robert Pattinson doing, going from those Twilight movies to do The Lighthouse. Like, he took a turn for the better, in my opinion. But yeah. On my Cageometer, I gave it a 7 as well. I love this movie. I've been really wanting to force other people to watch this movie for a long time because I think it's so goddamn brilliant. It's like you said, it's just, I don't know. He controls every single second that he's on camera. Like, he commands your attention, and the movie itself is so layered and like an onion. Like, every time I watch it, I feel like I discover something different about it. And for this was the first movie for the writer, the first movie for the director, and this was like Nick Cage's 5th or 6th movie or something like that. So, I mean, for them to knock it out of the park on the first one is pretty crazy. And I think it holds up. I don't know, I think because of stuff like, the meme face that everybody makes fun of all the time, and this is kind of like one of those Nick Cage movies that's the stuff of legend that everybody's like, oh, you gotta watch this because Nick Cage is so crazy in it. But it's like, his character is crazy. He's a lunatic, and he plays it so perfectly. I think he's amazing in this movie. I gave him an 8. I didn't give him a 9. I don't remember what I gave him for Deadfall, but I feel like his performance in this is so good. But I have seen better Nick Cage performances, which is amazing. We have room to grow from here. So, I'm trying not, since I haven't seen very many, I'm trying not to stack him up against other performances that I've seen I think
myself with my own ratings.
It's kind of great that you haven't seen a ton of Nick Cage performances, because our audience is experiencing it with you. I mean, in an ideal world. So, So I gave him an 8. Every moment that he's on screen, he's mesmerizing. But a lot of people make fun of this performance, but I think that this performance is fucking brilliant. I think he's a genius in this role, and I think the movie itself is genius. I don't think it's, I can't give it higher than a 7 because I do feel like there are things that I wish they would have addressed. I wish they would have buttoned up certain things. I wish they would have made certain things clearer. But I think that was kind of their intention, was to make it sort of ambiguous. And like I said, Nick Cage, especially his early roles, he wanted to go for more of an avant-garde, kind of abstract version of acting, and the roles that he takes, especially early on, reflect that. His performance for this grand total is 8 out of 10, and then we got a 2 7s and an 8, so a little bit over a 7 for the movie.